guys, James here again, and today I'm going to finally put together my thoughts, conclusions, etc., my tests on the new JSB Hades. Now there's been a lot of hype around these pellets online, and I mean like a lot. Everybody's been using them, everybody's been ranting and raving, and I've been testing these pellets now for several months. I bought this tin myself. You'll see in a minute, I'll go into it. There is a difference between these and the ones you might have seen online, this is just a normal pellet tin, it's not foam lined or anything. This is just off-the-shelf Hades pellets. So we're going to do a couple of tests. I'm going to split the review into two halves. Obviously, being a British shooter, there's a lot of people that watch my channel that can only shoot sub 12 foot-pound. So we're down at the outdoor range at the Gun Room and Country Clothing with the Impact. You'll see that the Hugget shroud is missing. That's because I've actually got my 22 caliber barrel in here today. And we're going to do a sub 12 foot-pound review and a full power review, basically in the same video. So the first half you'll see with the Impact, and then we're going to skip back home to go out in the fields with the Crown, and then we will do the same tests with the same pellets at the same targets and see exactly what these things do and the differences. Now within these little kind of reviews, obviously you're going to have the sub 12 and the full power. I'm going to do target and I'm going to do expansion. So I'm going to show the difference between a normal dome head pellet and a Hades pellet, and I'm going to be shooting all targets today at 40 yards, which as far as I'm concerned is a good hunting range for either caliber, or for either power should I say. So we'll see exactly what they're doing. I'm not entirely sure how this test is going to go. There's a reason that this review is taking so long to get out, but we'll go into that later on if it's relevant, if at all. So first of all, we're going to start off with the 15.89 grain JSB heavies. Now these are what I run through my Crown, through the Impact. It's just a really good do-it-all 22 caliber dome head pellet. So we're going to test to see how it groups, and then we'll see how it expands, and then we'll do the same tests with the Hades. So we'll look at grouping and then expansion. So let's crack on, let's see what they do. That? 6, wasn't it? Something like that. Okay, so results are in. Now realistically we're going to be looking at a compromise here. You're going to want that compromise between a regular dome head pellet and obviously the expansion of a hollow point. So realistically, in my mind at least, I'm expecting the Hades to be a little less accurate, but they should expand a little bit better. So we'll have a look at the targets. So the first target we'll have a look at is 10 shots at 40 yards with the JSB Jumbo Diablos. You can see a really nice grouping here. Now if we were hunting, I would say with the power that we're putting out here, it's about 11.6 foot-pounds. This would be sufficient grouping to get kill shots every single time at 40 yards. So now let's take a look at the JSB Hades. Now apart from one, which we'll put that down to James, that is a really respectable group. So from an accuracy point of view, sub 12, I'll give these this credit. I would almost say they slightly outperform the standard jumbos. Now for the crucial bit, expansion. Because obviously if you're selling these as an expanding pellet, obviously they've got this new design on top. If you've seen the Magpul logo, or if you've seen anything sort of radioactive, you'll recognise the pattern. But the idea is, I think these petals are supposed to just deform and allow for a rapid kind of sort of expansion of power, really. So I'll be really interested to see how this works. Now for this test, we're going to copy Giles a little bit, and I'm going to use soap. My idea being, if I use ballistic gel, it cost me like 20 odd quid for a block. This cost me 15 pence, which is nothing. And obviously it won't elasticate back. Once it's deformed, it will stay deformed. So we should get a really good idea of what's going on. Now I'll be taping 2 of these together, just in case there is a bit of over penetration from the first one. And we'll see how we're looking expansion versus a normal dome, and obviously the Hades pellets. Okay, so results. Now in theory, what we would expect to see when we have a look at this soap is that the dome head pellet, in theory, should hold its shape a lot better, and therefore should penetrate, in my mind at least, a lot further. The Hades, if it's doing what it says on the tin, which is expanding a lot better than a dome head, but then providing the same accuracy, which we've already seen, it shouldn't have made it through the first block, in my kind of head. So we'll have a look at what's going on. Now you can see both shots here, both went in pretty much central, and hopefully this will come out on camera, but you can see that the standard dome head has really made quite a large bulge into the back of this second piece of soap. You can't see all the way through, whereas the Hades, I can just see a little bit of a dent on the back, but nothing too untoward. So we'll open it up, and as you can see here, neither of the pellets have passed through. So I'm going to do a little bit of surgery now. We're going to dig these out and see exactly how they've expanded, what kind of wound cavity they've left, and just see exactly how they performed in this block of soap. Okay, so now we've got the blocks in half, we can see exactly what they've done. Now as we've taken the left hand side off to expose the dome head pellet, the first thing that's quite evident was the fact that it changed its course quite dramatically. It went right off to the right. If it had gone straight through in a straight line, it would have gone into the next block without any kind of question in my mind at all. The wound channel that you'll see is very straight, very consistent. There's not much expansion in the pellet either. So kinetic wise, it literally has just gone straight in and it's just kept going. It hasn't tried to dissipate any of its power into the target. So that was the dome head. Now the interesting result really is with the Hades. Again, a lot less penetration. It went straight in. There was no deviation in flight, so we can't say that it was an extended flight path on one but not the other. It's gone straight in. It hasn't deformed at all. A little bit of rounding around the edges, obviously where it's gone into the soap, and it's kind of pushed these petals in on themselves, but not the expansion that you would expect to see. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I think personally this might be the case, is that in sub 12 foot-pound, there just isn't the kind of the kinetic shock when it hits the target for it to then expand the petals out and then go into full kind of what I would call Hades mode, which you would have seen on several of the other channels. So to conclude with sub 12, the Hades are very, very accurate, if not a little bit more accurate than the standard pellets that I tested, and they do stop a lot better in the target. So obviously the less distance it takes, the harder it's hitting because it's dissipating all of its power straight into the target. So sub 12, yes, it's an accurate little pellet, but do not expect it to expand in the same way as you'll probably see later on in testing with the full power rifles. So anyway, with that in mind, guys, let's pack the impact up. Let's get ourselves off the farm, and we'll repeat these exact same tests, but with a full power rifle, doing about 29 foot-pound. Okay, so for everybody else in the world, or anybody in the UK that is shooting FAC, I have bought the crown out, and we are now going to see what the pellets can do at similar distance against same old targets. We'll be putting the soap back out as well. We'll start off with the targets, have a look how they perform from an accuracy point of view. Also, it'd be interesting to see if there's any difference between how they perform at the lower speeds versus the higher speeds. And we will then get the blocks of soap back out and we will see what happens. I'm hoping for a little bit more expansion from the Hades, but we'll see. JSB Hades destruction. Okay, so let's crouch down. Alright, so before we go any further, we've got 2 shots here that I did with the standard dome head, and then 1 in the side here with the Hades. See what happens. So I've just cut away at the soap, which you might have seen then, and the Hades has passed straight for the first, but stopped in the second. So there's not much penetration there at all, but we'll have a look how much it's expanded in 2 seconds. The other 2 have kept going. 1 has stopped in this second block, and the other 1 has just gone straight out the back of the third one, so God only knows where that's gone, hopefully into the huge hedge that I've got. So we're going to take apart this block now, do a quick close-up, show you the expansion, and I think we're going to go and hide back in the car because it is freezing out here. Okay, so it's blowing out there, it's silly cold, so we've come back and we're hiding in the car. So obviously the first test that we're going to do with the crown, obviously the results for that is the accuracy. So with my jumbo pellets, my normal 15.89 grain jumbos, that was the result that I got. Now I'll put a better picture up for you so you can see. Now in today's conditions, I would argue you could see, if you took the windage out of it, you can see a distinct group opening up here. A very good group for the conditions we're in. I think it was blowing, it was gusting, we didn't really know what was going on. That is a perfectly usable group, and obviously timing the shots as best we could within the wind. That's the results we got. So this is the data mark for this kind of real world shooting with the setup that we've got. So that was the normal dome heads. Okay, so now for the Hades. Now I'll level you. This is the second time I've filmed this review. Not on the same day. This is literally months after the first one. And I bought them out with the crown, and I could not get them to group for love nor money, which is why we came away, cleaned the barrel, did this, that, the other. I've tried them in the Smooth Twist, in the Smooth Twist X. And these are the results, or the first set of results that I have today. Now you'll see, there's not even like a clear kind of, they're grouped, but the wind was pushing them off either side. It's a very scattered group. And I thought I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We will fire a second group. So we fired a second target. Now, as you heard, the wind conditions today, they're not amazing, not by a long shot, but they were contending with the same conditions that the normal dome heads had to deal with. And that's the best I could get out of these pellets today. Now, it's not amazing. Would I want to compromise between the expansion versus the accuracy? Well, that'll take us to, well, the second set of results really, the expansion. Now, this was done exactly the same way as we've done with the sub 12 that you would have seen earlier on in the review. Apart from I used 3 blocks of soap this time, because obviously it's a lot more power. I wanted to catch the pellets, and thankfully we caught both the pellets. Now, much like the results we got the sub 12, the Hades did stop quicker. They were a lot quicker just to really stop and impact basically all their power into what we were hitting. So we peeled them open, and I could see that the normal dome heads had just get ploughing. They were off in their own little world, having fun, just keep them going for the soap. And the first one, as I say, that I got to was the Hades pellets. Now, I've dug it out, that you'll see a picture on the screen, and they didn't really expand at all. And I wondered, obviously, with the sub 12, if it didn't have that initial kind of impact, that shock. But actually, as a side note, when we finished filming the sub 12, we got the pallet where the targets were. I actually managed to dig one of the pellets out, and then when we brought it back down to the target and had a look at it, even though that had hit solid wood, it hadn't done a whole lot. And again, I'll put a picture up here for you to see. But as I say, the full power tests anyway, it almost convexed in on itself rather than expanding out or going back through itself. And it didn't really change shape at all. Apart from, you know, the petals were a lot closer in, it didn't deform. So I'd have to substitute accuracy, and the expansion for me, I'd say this is my test, these are the results as I found them, just haven't been enough to make me think, yeah, I want to move away from normal dome head pellets. Now again, interestingly, when we did catch up with one of the dome heads that had lodged itself right in the back of the second block of soap, it had pretty much stayed in the same shape as well. So that had just ploughed on until it ran out of enough energy and just stopped. Now, I will revisit these pellets again. You know, I don't know how many times I need to try and give them a chance before I actually work out what's going on. But the biggest difference I see from my video and the pellets I have in front of me versus the others, mine didn't come in
surrounded in the foam. It was just a normal JSB tin. And when I took them out, there are a lot of deformities. There's a lot of like just niggles and just things that aren't quite right. When you look at a lot of the other reviewers, the pellets are as smooth as a smooth thing. But mine have got dings, burrs, that kind of stuff. Now, I don't know if that's a design feature. JSB, if you're watching, let me know. But that's how I found it. So obviously I can only test with what I've got in front of me. As I say, I will come back to these. This will only be a part 1. I will do a part 2 where I will give these pellets the best chance that I can give to try and see what all the hype's about. Because as far as I can see at the moment from my own personal tests, they're not performing in the way that I would have expected. So I'm sure there'll be loads of questions, loads of comments on this. I'm guessing I'm probably going to get flamed by the diehard Hades fans. Put them below. I'll get back to everybody that I can respond to as best as I can. And as I say, we will come back to these pellets. So if you want to see more from that, feel free to subscribe. As I say, any questions, any comments, put them in the box below. And of course, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.